I'd offered to drive my mother-in-law to the doctor's. But when I arrived at her house, I found her gossiping away with a neighbor. "Mom, we've got to go," interjected, but she couldn't hear me over the chatter. "Mom," repeated as I pulled her away. "Sorry, but I didn't know what to do," she said, getting into the car. That woman wouldn't stop listening to me. One Sunday, a minister played hooky from church so he could shoot a round of golf. St. Peter, looking down from heaven, seethed. "You're going to let him get away with this, God?" The Lord shook his head. The minister took his first shot. The ball soared through the air 420 yards and dropped into the cup for a hole-in-one. St. Peter was outraged. "I thought you were going to punish him." The Lord shrugged. "Who's he going to tell?" One day, the telephone in the office of the rector of President Roosevelt's Washington church rang, and an eager voice said, "Tell me, do you expect the president to be in church this Sunday?" "That I cannot promise," the rector explained patiently. "But we expect God to be there, and we fancy that will be incentive enough for a reasonably large attendance." A man went into a seafood restaurant and asked for a lobster tail. The waitress smiled sweetly and said, "Once upon a time there was this handsome lobster." "Nothing looks good on me anymore," wailed a customer modeling an outfit in front of the department store's mirror. "Nonsense, Mom," soothed the sales clerk. "That dress says it all." "That's the problem," the woman replied. "I need a dress that keeps its mouth shut." Two hunters are out in the woods when one of them collapses. He's not breathing and his eyes are glazed. The other guy whips out his cell phone and calls 911. "I think my friend is dead," he yells. "What can I do?" the operator says. "Calm down. First, let's make sure he's dead." There's a silence, then a shot. "Back on the phone," the guy says. "Okay, now what?" In the public library, a man with his new library card questioned the pretty librarian. "Do you mean to say," he asked, "that with this card I may take out any book I want?" "Yes," she answered. "And may I take out record albums too?" "Yes, you may." "May I take you out?" he ventured. Drawing herself up to her full height, she replied, "The librarians, sir, are for reference only." Rushing up to a large airline's ticket counter, a man gasped, "Miss, please help me. I have to get to Chicago in the worst way." The clerk calmly pointed to her left and said, "Sir, that would be the airline next to us." On a Miami to Chicago flight was a lively youngster who nearly drove everyone crazy. He was running up and down the aisle when the flight attendant started serving coffee. He ran smack into her, knocking a cup of coffee out of her hand and onto the floor. As he stood by watching her clean up the mess, she glanced up at the boy and said, "Look, why don't you go and play outside?" A gawky lad from New England came to New York with his girl and took her to nearby Playland amusement park. They had heard a lot about the Tunnel of Love and were especially anxious to try it out. But when they got home, the kids expressed disappointment. "Shucks," the boy said. "It was dark and damp and uncomfortable. Besides, we got soaking wet." "How come?" asked a friend. "Did the boat leak?" The kid looked amazed. "There's a boat?"